Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Fandom Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Z. Martin, and tonight we are talking about finding fandom spaces online. But before we dive into that, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Michelle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Crowley. I am an assistant professor of communication studies in Kentucky, and I have been a hardcore fan of Supernatural since 2018. And yeah.
And Crowley really is your last name.
Yes.
Laurena.
Hi, I'm Laurena Aker. I'm also known online as Night Sky. I'm the editor of the book Fan Phenomena, The Twilight Saga, and I am co-editor-in-chief of the Winchester Family Business for Supernatural, which means that I do fandom-related things pretty much full-time.
Very good. Carole.
Hi, I'm Carole Stokes. I've been a fan of Supernatural since season 3, started writing fanfic in 2012, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the podcast, So Get This, The Lore of Supernatural Fanfic on Spotify.
And I'm Gail Z. Martin and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. But all my modern worlds are ones Sam and Dean could walk into and feel right at home. I'm the founder and co-con runner for Continual. So for the Supernatural track here, I run the Supernatural TFWNC group here on Facebook. And I'm a columnist for the Winchester Family Business. And I've got a chapter in There'll Be Peace When You Are Done, which is Lynn Zubernis's wonderful book on the legacy of Supernatural. So lots of fandom spaces among all of us. And I can't wait to dive into this. So how did you first start to navigate online fandom when you came into it? And I know we all came into it at different times, but how did you figure out where to find people? Every fandom takes a village, and there's some villages are friendlier than others. So Michelle, how about you?
When I started looking into finding a fandom group, I stumbled upon Gish. And I stumbled upon Gish, of course, in the off season, and started to find the different groups that were on Facebook and trying to find people that are local in my area. And through Gish and through I think it was called the Gish Bunker. It was on Facebook. And I found some folks in my general area, started chatting with them, hanging out with them. And then they brought me over to Twitter. And then life kind of went downhill from there. The Twitterscape has, the rumors about the Twitterscape are true. It tends to get a little toxic from time to time, but there definitely are some good spaces on Twitter, and there's a lot of good people out there too. So yeah, I filtered in my way through Gish.
That makes sense. Laurena.
I pretty much found my way through Google search, I would have to say. I was online and I wanted to find out about Supernatural fandom. So I just started Googling Supernatural and fandom and fan space and fan sites and just bumbling my way around, without having any idea what I was doing. I was not on social media at the time. I mean, I had a Facebook account, but that was about the extent of it. I ended up finding the Winchester Family Business, and they said they were the largest fan site for Supernatural. So I kind of put a peg in that one and was monitoring the comments and the articles, and found the articles to be amazingly intelligent and analytical and insightful and deep. And I was like, whoa, this isn't what I expected at all. And then I kept looking and looking and looking, and I found Fangasm online, and as well just started poking around there and its website and reading reviews. So I had another peg in that one. And then I think I really just started asking around. I found my way into Fandom by those two websites. I did the Contact Us, the little known button that's on every website. And I contacted both of the administrators and said, I'm totally new to Fandom. I don't know anyone. I'm going to the Chicago convention and I'd like to meet people so I'm not like a total idiot all by myself. And the two admins met me there and introduced me to Fandom, you know, what to do, where to go, how to act, everything. So I kind of found my way around and then got some pretty good mentors.
Okay, Carol.
Well, way back when. So season 3 had to be like what, 2008? I was already on LiveJournal. I had already been on LiveJournal for a couple of years. And when I started getting into Supernatural, I had seen other fandom, like other friends in different fandoms. So I knew fandom stuff occurred out there. And when season 3 abruptly paused for, hiatus because of the writer's strike, deja vu. I thought, oh, well, I bet there's Supernatural fanfic out there, because I was already reading fanfic for a couple other things like Stargate Atlantis and NCIS. So I said, oh, I bet there's Supernatural fanfic out there. And oh boy, was there. Ocean of it. So I started just, kind of following links. I'd find a story and then I'd read all their stories, but then I'd look at the comments and I'd go to some of those people. And I really just, wandered through the whole spider web of LiveJournal, which had an enormous, very, very active fandom. And it was glorious because LiveJournal is something you could really dialogue on. You could have big, long, involved conversations. There would be events you could discuss. I met so many writers on that. I met artists, other fans, and it was really, really delightful. I was already on Facebook, but that was primarily for scattered family and friends. But eventually, my friendships began to bleed into Facebook. And so now my Facebook is probably about 50-50 of friends and family and Supernatural fandom. There again, Facebook has just a myriad of groups available. There is a group for every point of view. Do you want relationships? Do you not want relationships? Which relationships do you want? Let's talk about the art. Let's talk about the actors. I mean, there's just a host of things out there. And eventually I kind of picked out my half a dozen that I'm in and follow actively. Like anything else, you're trying on your fit. Do I agree with stuff? Am I arguing in my head with stuff every time I'm on this site? Well, maybe that's not the site for me. And then finally, kicking and screaming, one of my friends dragged me onto Twitter. I resisted for so long, and now I'm on it constantly. For me, it's just a terrific dialogue again. It's not the in-depth, leisurely dialogues that we had on LiveJournal, but I'm constantly in contact with and chatting with Supernatural fans that I have got, who've become friends. I have some like extremely close friends I've made. I just was at the Charlotte convention, and one of the highlights was that I have a very dear friend from Germany, and she's there, and I got to know her on Twitter, and so now I get to like actually see her in person and things, that kind of thing. I'm sure it happens in every fandom, but boy, that's a unique experience for me, where I'm like making all these friends on Twitter and then actually getting to meet them face to face. I mean, the Charlotte convention was this huge, oh my gosh, I know you and now I can, hug you. So Twitter is a very active place for me. Sadly, LiveJournal, because of outside factors, has really waned. Many of us old timers really miss the space it had because nothing has really replaced it. But you know, as time goes on and there are new places, we just carve out new spaces for ourselves, and we drag some people with us, and we find some old friends already there, and then there are always new friends to be made. So I think we're just really, really lucky that Supernatural is such a vital fandom. It is so alive. It is so active. I mean, the show's been over a couple of years, but you know, really, there's been events are still going on, and you know, discussions are being had and everything. So I think we're just super fortunate to have the vitality of the fandom we do, and the flexibility of these different places in which to exercise our fandom in.
Yeah, I've got to say the same thing. I got into Supernatural halfway through season 11, binge watched 11 seasons in 4 months during the hiatus, so I could start in on season 12. And I'd heard about this live tweeting thing where you traded comments on Twitter during the show. And I met the Winchester family business and Fangasm from live tweeting the show. And of course, that led me to Laurena and Lynn. And then they kind of, you know, I said, okay, now where do I go? And they pointed me in various directions. I also met wonderful folks like the Green Cooler and some of my other favorite Twitter accounts that provide commentary and snark and art. And in that hiatus, I didn't think I could live without my favorite show. So I thought, I know there's fan fiction out there, and I had not read fan fiction in years. But I said, I gotta read this. Well, there's Archive of Our Own, which with over 500,000 Supernatural fanfics in just about every taste and variety. And so that has kept me very busy since then, but I've also gotten to know many of my favorite authors like Carole. And so that has opened up between the Twitter chats and fan fiction. And then I went to my first Supernatural convention in 2018, and I was really nervous about not knowing anybody. So I started a Facebook group thinking it would just be to get people together for dinner and maybe, you know, broker some friendships. Well, we had a good time at Facebook. We had a good time meeting up with each other. And at the end, the folks said, well, we don't really want to stop having this group. We're having a good time, which became the Supernatural TFWNC group with a couple of thousand members. We do photos and contests and all kinds of cool stuff. I hope it's cool every day, pretty much online. And it's just gotten to be its own little community. And so, you know, and then Carole has her podcast, and other friends have podcasts and pages. And once you find a couple of hooks to hang on to, then you start looking at, well, who follows them? Or
Who did they follow?
like fan fiction? Well, what are their bookmarks? Do I like those authors? And it's like finding a trail of breadcrumbs. But if you can just find one or two people that make you feel safe and comfortable and welcome, then they can help you navigate, because if you like them, you'll probably like at least most of their friends. So how do you navigate? Every fandom has some negativity in it. Supernatural has it, and we sometimes think it's terrible, but trust me, I've been in other fandoms, there's worse. So yes, we have some people who behave badly. No, it's not as badly as it could be. So how do you back out carefully or keep from getting drawn into the debate of the day? Because sometimes they're just so silly. I like bacon. Well, how can you like bacon? You know,
It's made from pigs.
That's right. That's right. Or just, you know, for everybody who loves something, there's somebody who hates something. How do you keep from getting drawn into that? Because that's one of the things that makes fandom not so much fun. Michelle?
I make liberal use of the block button. I do. I'm a firm believer in making social media at least from my own experience, I make my social media a place that I enjoy. And so it's like, oh, that person is very against something that I like. I don't need that in my life. And the funny thing is though about this fandom, it's like, oh, that person I blocked on Twitter, I'm sitting next to them at the next Supernatural convention. Oops. And so fortunately, you know, kind of get to know the person a little bit better in that sense. And then it's like, oh, hey, find me on Twitter. Oops, I blocked you. Sorry, let me undo that. So I curate my own space very carefully, and especially, I mean, I guess you could say I potentially am more of a fan of the least popular brother and the actor behind him. And there's a lot of negativity, you know, anti-J or anti-J or whatnot. And so I have blocked a lot of people. And then also, you know, kind of Gail, as you were saying, and Carol, that there are thousands of groups on Facebook. And so really just seeking out specifically the ideas and the concepts that I like. And of course, you know, I can't make that gross overall distinction about the people behind it, but you know, kind of, at least in the short term, I block people, I avoid topics that I don't like. And if there is something that is just, you know, overtaking my feed, that's enough of fandom for the day. I'm going to go back to my real life. You know, so
Touch grass.
touch grass. Yes.
Okay, Laurena.
I agree with Michelle on the blocking. I absolutely do that. I curate all of my social media spaces. It could be the Twitter, it could be Instagram, it could be Facebook. So all the social media, you can also lurk and read a lot of what's going on without getting involved in it. So you can follow the timelines and find out what's happening and what are the stars doing and what are the events going on and what are the fandom sponsored things happening without getting involved. So if you're shy or quiet or not sure or don't have a posse yet or something, you can just lurk. I also highly recommend moderated spaces. So the Winchester Family Business site is highly moderated. We monitor all our comments and make sure that everyone stays absolutely respectful of all opinions and there's no personal attacks of any kind. So it's a very safe space. I personally watch the comments in Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the WFB. So it's a little bit safer, as safe as social media can get. So I like the moderated spaces. And I also like getting like people around you and really just engaging with them. And having said all that, you know, follow who you want and block who you need to and such. The other thing I would say is personally, I am extremely careful of what I say online. I think about every sentence 5 times. How can it be misinterpreted? I know my friends won't misinterpret it, but how can this be seen out of context? How can this be taken and used against me? And I change words very, very often to make sure that I'm as clear but in what I mean, and I'm using all of the respectful words. And I'm not just talking about politically correct. I'm talking about fandom landmines too. So I really am extraordinarily careful. And maybe that's a little bit too much work for some fans, so they just want to be quiet or just have a small timeline. So you really have to kind of look at, do you want it moderated? Do you want to be careful? Do you want to lurk? You know, do you want a very, very small timeline? So you have to be true to yourself. If you want to be shy and quiet, be shy and quiet. You don't have to come out and, you know, be the life of the party on social media or in comments A very big part of the Winchester Family Business readers are lurkers. I can see the numbers, and we might get 20 comments on something, but we've got 1,000 reads. So, I know that there are a lot of people reading and enjoying, but just don't need to talk about it.
Okay. Carol.
Certainly things like the block button and everything are really useful. Curation is just the word of the day. You want to curate. By that, I mean, you tool your space to be comfortable and safe for you. And if it means you don't have to block people, maybe sometimes you just simply don't friend them, but if they get retweeted, it's like, fine, there they are, but I don't have to be the one to, you may decide to block people. The two things that I think I utilize is one, I may have friends that have several different opinions. I'm Switzerland. I have my opinions, but I'm not out to broadcast them to anybody. And I'm not going to take sides. You're my friend and you're my friend, and we can all coexist like that. We don't have to be, but there are times that I do speak up. For instance, if somebody's like criticizing writers because, oh gosh, what's wrong with their world building? And I'll be like, hey, writers write and they get to build whatever world they want. So there are times I will make a stand, but it's not generally on a particular fandom issue. And I'm just going to stay out of that morass. The other thing that's a really useful tool is the group chat. So the group chat is when you have met people that you like, and you can either create a group chat, or maybe they have a group chat and they invite you in, and then that's generally a very safe space. It could be 6 people, 15 people, 30 people, but these are people that in some way have become uncommon ground, so perhaps, they all like both of the lead actors regardless. So you're not getting the sniping of the one against the other and vice versa. That's a comfortable, safe space where you can just go and say, hey, and I really love this one, and I love that one, and I love when he did this, and I love when he did that. And it's about fanfic. Here's a fanfic group where all we do is talk about the fanfics we like, and oh, I'm recommending this, and oh, have you read that, and oh, the Big Bangs are out, let's talk about them. And that's a very safe space. So those can be really fun areas where you don't have to have your guard up all the time. Doesn't mean it's a group of people. There could be drama at some point, but the instance of drama is way, 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 way down as opposed to Twitter at large, which is enormous and therefore volatile.
Carol, can you clarify what platforms are you talking about group chat? Because I think that might not be clear.
On Twitter, you can actually select a group of people. So like if you're going to DM somebody, like let's say I DM Michelle, and it's just her and I in our little bubble. Well, perhaps we then start inviting people in, and we have half a dozen people now in our bubble. It's our little pocket universe where it's in the DMs, but you can have several people in them. You actually can do this on Facebook as well. Facebook has the chat feature where you can have half a dozen people. You all get to interact, equally, but it's carved out of the main universe of
Public
Facebook
space.
and Twitter.
Yeah.
And so it's just, your little pocket universe. And, there are times like if Twitter or Facebook are blowing up over something, you can just retreat to your group chats and still have a nice time. And you just kind of comment on like, wow, it's really wild out there today. Let's stay in here and have a nice day, and that's really nice. I know, and like I said, they can be, 2 or 3 people. For instance, there are 3 co-hosts of the podcast I mentioned. The 3 of us have a group chat so that we can not talk about our podcast, but we're also very close friends. And so we can just, talk about our stuff. There's a fic one that I'm in where it's all about, here are these great stories. Everybody's like, oh, I read this, check it out. Oh, I read that, check it out. Oh, if you like this, here's that. And that's really great because we're all simply enjoying the fact that we love the fanfic and sharing, everything that we enjoy about it. So those are definitely a really great way to enjoy some of the immediacy of those spaces, but provide both a sanctuary if you need to retreat from the big picture, and a way to just, have a lot of fun without having to watch every word so carefully because you just don't know how it's going to go.
Yes to all of that. I mean, there are definitely people I block. And to Michelle's earlier point, you can find that there is somebody that is utterly obnoxious on Twitter, but you love their fanfic. You find somebody who is unfortunately perennially rage-filled on Twitter about one thing or another, but you like their art. And so just because you block somebody on Twitter doesn't mean that you have to stop enjoying other things that they create or how they are in other spaces. It just means that you are doing self-care by retreating from, in my case, I don't like the constant drama. I am a no drama mama. I don't like to see people fight over stuff. Much as I love this show, I can also step back and go, guys, it's a TV show. In the scale of world problems, it's a TV show. So deep breaths and let's use our indoor voice.
There's actually there's one other option that we haven't really discussed, which is on Twitter, you can mute somebody.
Yes.
So perhaps somebody is being a little more vocal than you like, but you don't really want to shut the door. You can mute them for a little while, or you can mute keywords. So if there's in a particular area you don't want to hear about, you can mute that and really minimize that happening. Facebook, unfortunately, doesn't have anything like that, but for Twitter, you can say, I'm going to mute this. Maybe I'll unmute it later, or this particular phase will pass or whatever. But that kind of helps you like a little more of a gray area. It's not on or off. It's like, let's just turn the volume down a little bit.
Facebook actually does. It has a hide for 30 days. There are a couple people I have hidden for 30 days on and off because, in general, I like them, but they got to be in their bonnet about something and I just didn't want to deal with it. And I think that is a big thing to keep in mind, is that you're in fandom for fun, for community, because it nurtures, because the core material nurtures your soul. The world is a crazy dumpster fire. You don't need a dumpster fire in your fandom. So it is perfectly okay to step back from things that are heated and things that cause you anxiety and stress. You don't have to participate. And the older I get, the more I notice that nobody really cares about my opinion on most of this stuff anyhow. So why give it and bring that, and then have them all shooting at you? You can just stand back and watch it happen, or make them all go away and you don't even have to look at it. I think one of the other things to think about is that there are not only those group chats, but there are Facebook groups for each of the different conventions. So the Charlotte convention, the Chicago convention, they'll have a Facebook group where people talk about, make plans for the convention, and buy and sell tickets if they can't go or if they want to pick something up later. Many times those are less dramatic, not always, but because they are so focused on, hey, there's a convention coming up, we want to get together, it doesn't always veer into some of the more controversial topics. And if you join groups and then sort of lurk, like other folks have said, you can see pretty quickly the direction that a group takes. Most groups, it's true, 80% of the posts are made by 20% of the people. And so you can see if this is going to be a gripe fest, or people are perennially aggrieved, or if people are going, oh man, I love this show. And you know what else I love about it today? I love this episode. Look at my bright shiny. Isn't it bright and shiny? And that's my kind of place. I ruthlessly moderate the Supernatural TFWNC group, which stands for Team Free Will North Carolina. And anybody who creates drama is just gone, because that's not where I want to spend my time or my mental energy. And that's not, it's my living room. I get to say who gets to stay. And if you start a fist fight in my living room, I'm going to drag you out by the collar and kick you down the stairs. So, you know, I think that when you find groups that are actively moderated, and I think some group runners are kind of afraid to offend anybody, and it's like, they're making you miserable. Why don't you just kick them out of the group? This is a repeat offender. Oh no, you know, it's like, okay, I'm out of here, because if you're not gonna moderate, I'm not gonna deal with it. But there are good groups out there, and so you just wait and you watch, and you kind of get to know some of the players, and it's often the same players in several places that are causing the drama, which makes them easier to block, because now you can block them on a variety of platforms.
And the reverse is true, where it's like, you're like, oh, I keep seeing this person and they seem really cool. So, you know, you go ahead and you friend them or you follow them, or then you can even say, hey, where are you going? Where do you go to hang out and do this stuff? What kind of groups, you know, would be fun to get in? You know, so yeah, it goes both ways. As you meet more people, you'll find more places, and, you know, it kind of grows exponentially as your web of acquaintance and friends broadens.
Well, and I want to have a chance to talk about some of the places beyond Twitter and Facebook where you can find Supernatural fandom, because there's a lot of YouTube content on Supernatural. Some of it is panels like this, which will end up on my YouTube channel. Some of it are podcasts. Some of it are episode reviews. Some of it are music videos. And my God, there are people who are talented putting those together. There's stuff on Spotify. There's stuff on DeviantArt, which is an art site where you can find a lot of art that isn't necessarily posted elsewhere. There's stuff on Discord. Discord's a little harder to navigate. You kind of have to know where you're going, but searching on Supernatural is likely to give you places to at least knock on the door and say, hey, can I come in? What are some of the other places online where that aren't Twitter and Facebook where you've found fandom? Michelle?
I'm trying to think, honestly, because those are my big ones. TikTok.
True.
There's a lot of, so you know, you have the long music videos and episode reviews and whatnot on YouTube, but then people will take those or make their own of 15 seconds of that. And for someone like me, that's much more palatable than watching a 15-minute video of somebody reviewing an episode. I'd rather see the 15 seconds. And there's a lot of, well, also what TikTok allows you to do is kind of combine together DeviantArt and YouTube and the threading of Twitter and such. So we can combine together all of those factors into just TikTok. And it comes to you in 15 or 30-second little snippets, and they're pretty easy to digest. And, you know, and this case, it's the same case with any of the social media. It's like, hey, I don't like this person. Swipe. I'm not going to favorite their stuff. I'm just going to go on. I don't like causing drama. I don't like seeing drama. So I don't have to comment on a video that I don't like. And I just move along.
Great point. Yeah. Laurena?
Well, I'm going to have to go with the obvious and say websites. There are a lot of Supernatural websites that have their own domain, are not social media. So you find them through their URL. So you've got the WinchesterFamilyBusiness.com, which obviously I've been talking about. You also have Fangasm SPN, which is its own WordPress with reviews and articles and interviews. But some of the others that might not be as well known would be Supernatural Fan Wiki. It's a very small group of fans who just love Supernatural. So it's a kind of affiliated with WFB, but we're entirely separate sites run by different moderators, completely independent fan groups. Of course, if you want to find anything out about Supernatural, those 3 sites are great, or Supernatural Wiki, which is different than Supernatural Fan Wiki. Supernatural Fan Wiki is a fan site for discussion, and Supernatural Wiki is a wiki, which is just for, information, vast amounts of information. But in all those places, like WFB has a phenomenally huge article archive with episode guides and reviews and photo galleries galore, but also games. We create all our own games. So if you like crossword puzzles or word searches or trivias or whatever you name, you can find it. So you can get lost in the websites themselves that are dedicated to a particular fandom and a little piece of that fandom. We list at the bottom of the WFB, all of our pages on the right-hand side, we have what we call recommended sites. So we have all of our writers usually have their own sites. We have one who's very active on Tumblr. We have one that has a site called Hunting Muses, which is on WordPress and goes across many, many, many fandoms. Supernatural is one of them, but it crosses other fandoms as well. And that's a very small group of fans. We have Gail's Chronicles of the Necromancer on there, Continual. And then beside websites, podcasts. We've got all kinds of podcasts. One of our writers has a podcast called In Defense of Fandom. So that's a fan-run podcast. We have another writer who participates in a Walker podcast. So there's lots and lots of podcasts, but you can also go to the podcasts that the cast run. So they're, I want to say, outgoing rather than mutual, kind of. So you go on to them to listen, and then if you subscribe to their Patreon, then you can get involved in conversations and that. But you get like Supernatural Then and Now with Rob and Rich. You get Wayward with Brianna and Kim Rhodes. You get Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. So those are my 3 biggies that I go to that are cast run. And that's where I just want to listen to insights, get behind the scenes. I don't necessarily want to interact with anyone. I just want to hear about the stars. I want to hear them talk. I want to hear them interviewed. I want to hear them talk about their craft. So that's a sit back and relax for me, learn, enjoy, and take it in. There doesn't have to be any give and take. It's just all take. I love it.
Carol?
So you mentioned one, Laurena, that we hadn't really touched on, which is Tumblr. I don't think Tumblr is quite in the heyday it used to have, but it's still extremely active. And there are a lot of like fiction challenges and stuff based on Tumblr. So a lot of activity on Tumblr. Well, Tumblr is not really groups, but it's like following, finding people, following them, looking at who all comments on their stuff and following them. Again, you just kind of go down this this ongoing trail of people to follow. Dreamwidth, which is an LJ-like site that a lot of people migrated to when LJ was first sold to another country. And people were all worried that we weren't going to have it. So lots of people went to Dreamwidth, and then nothing happened. But then years later, more furor in the world made people worried that LJ was going to go down with the ship. More people migrated. So Dreamwidth is a place where you can find a lot of the communities and people that were on LiveJournal now over there, especially communities, because the communities are great. Those are the places you're getting fic challenges in. So if you're a writer or an artist and you want to participate in events, that's a really great place to look. But if you're a reader or just an appreciator of those fics and arts, it's a great place to go, because you'll find lists of fic, and new fic that's happening, so that you can, find new, fresh things to read. And then Gail, you had mentioned Discord. A lot of times Discords you have to be invited to. They're on their own servers. But the beauty of Discord is you can say, I'm going to have a J2 Discord. It's going to be about Jared and Jensen and their projects and, all that stuff. Within that Discord, you will have rooms. You can create all these different rooms saying, here's the room we're going to talk about their future projects. And here's the room we're going to talk about their photo shoots. And here's a room we're going to talk about this aspect and that aspect and the other aspect. And it's really astounding the flexibility and creativity you can have on these servers. I've been in challenge servers. So here's a Discord for people in the Supernatural J2 Big Bang. Are you a writer? Are you an artist? Are you a beta reader? Are you, here's where we can all brainstorm our stories because we got stuck. And here we can do writing sprints to help us move along. So Discord's a really, really active place. And that's the kind of thing where, maybe you're on Twitter and somebody's like, oh, in this Discord. And then you're like, hey, that sounds really cool. Can I, take a peek and stuff? So Discord's a really another very vital resource.
Well, a couple that, I want to emphasize, we mentioned finding music videos and episode reviews and things on YouTube and panels like this, but there are also wonderful fans out there who record the panels at the live conventions. And so if you couldn't make it to a panel, if you couldn't make it to a convention, there are over, let's see, I do playlists for the different J2 panels, and I've got over 103 of them so far, separate conventions. And that's going back to about 2008. You can find all those panels, and that is a wonderful and deep resource. The cons themselves, that is a great place to get to know other people. You get to talk to people maybe online and then go meet them. We've mentioned doing that as a wonderful way to get deeper into fandom. Archive of our own, fanfiction.net, live journal. You start out as a reader, and then you start leaving kudos and comments, and then you get to in a conversation with other readers who also like this author, or you get to know the author, or you get to know the artist. Now all of a sudden you know these people, and it's like getting to know authors offline, where I like your book. Oh wow, I get to talk to you someplace, and that is another way to kind of find your way to your village. Instagram, just like Michelle was talking about TikTok, there are definitely Instagram channels that are dedicated to all different variations of Supernatural, Walker, the boys, all their projects, the actors themselves. And maybe sometimes it's pretty pictures and sometimes it's short videos, but again, another place to find content. Just because the show is over doesn't mean that the content isn't still being generated, and maybe we'll get more of the show later on, but for now the fans have picked up the ball and run with it. Well, folks, we have run out of time just covering at a superficial level all the wonderful places you can find your fandom village online. But before we wrap up, I'd like to give everybody the chance to say where we can find you online, and starting with Michelle.
You can find me on Twitter at preheatingprof. Hopefully I haven't blocked you already. And you also can find me at a lot of the Supernatural conventions as well.
All right, Laurena.
On Facebook, Fan Phenomena Twilight for my Twilight fandom. On Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, at Win Fan Business for the Winchester family business. My own personal accounts on Twitter are LSAngel2 and Night Sky on Facebook and Instagram.
All right, Carol.
podcast. So get this, the Lore of Supernatural Fanfic on Spotify. I'm here on Facebook in many continual panels, and also active in the TFWNC group. On Twitter, I am true_firesign10. I'm firesign10 on Instagram, and all of my fic is under firesign10 on AO3. Mind the tags. And under the name Ellis Colton, my first debut novella will be out this fall.
Very good. I'm pretty easy to find at gailzmartin.com, morganbryce.com. All my social media is a variation of those. So if you spell them right, you'll find me. I do run the Supernatural TFWNC group here on Facebook, the Supernatural track and other things on Continual. My YouTube channel is Writing in Winchesters, which pretty much covers what the content is. And I write for the Winchester Family Business blog. So I usually do episode reviews and some flash fiction there. But mostly you can find me here on Continual. So thank you so much to our wonderful panelists who also put up with me being distracted by a new puppy who sometimes ran off with his own ideas. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more Supernatural on Continual. So we'll see you online.